Good morning.
Boy,
So no shiur tonight because I'm going to New York tonight. There will be a shiur tomorrow, like probably 4 p.m. because I'll be in New York, but I'll teach the shiurim at 4 p.m.
it's 7 o'clock your time.
7 o'clock. Of course it works.
What time you make Shabbos? Don't you make Shabbos early in New York?
What, okay, I see. Okay, so we'll have to do it at like 3 p.m.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we're on Nun Tes Amud Aleph, Yoma. So there's a debate, Elazar, whether the Kohen Gadol, he should have stood in front. Remember, the Mizbeach Hazav was 2 feet by 2 feet square. So there's a debate whether or not he just stood in one place and touched the four corners just standing there by reaching over and doing that, or did he walk around and circumferentially? If we hold that he walked around, the question is, do we learn the various dinim that apply when you do a chatas on the outside mizbeach? Do you learn the same dinim as it applies to the inside mizbeach? So in the mizbeach, good morning, Walter. In the mizbeach outside, so clearly that was a huge mizbeach. It was 32 by 32 amas. You couldn't stand in one place. They walked around when they applied blood to the various corners. So if you hold that in the mizbeach hazav inside the heichal, he walked around, then everybody holds that you learn the same dinim outside to inside, and therefore the same. Because remember, the debate is which corner did they start from and which one did they end from. So if you learn it from the outside, you start from the same places that you do the outside. And if you don't learn it from the outside, you don't necessarily have to. You don't learn pnei michutz, right? And that in fact is the machlokas between Rav Yonis and Rav Yosef. Mar savar hakafa biyad, umar savar hakafa beregel. One mandamer held that the Kohen Gadol did not walk around the mizbeach hazav; he just stood there, and with his hand went around, and then you would not learn pnei michutz. But if he walked around, you would learn pnei michutz. If you want, I can answer you to kulam hakafa biyad. That everybody agrees that he didn't walk around; he just moved his hand around. So then, what's the machlokas? Now, regel is walking around on the outside. Do you learn things that you do with your hand from things that you do with walking? So, according to Mandama, that you do learn yad meregel. So, just like meregel outside, that's you would do the same with your yad inside. Umar savar lo yofinan, and therefore you have your own order based on the other halacha considerations, whether you're closest to it as you come out from the paroiches and other reasons. Break the Gemara, the Sover Rav Yossi Aglili Akofa Bayad. So it's coming out that you're being forced to say that Rav Yossi Aglili learns that in the Heichal, when they did the application of the blood in the Mizbeach Hazav, they did it by their hand. But it can't be Rav Yossi Aglili. V'hamari Seifa, Rabbi Yezer Omer Bim Kol Mahaya Omer Mechata, that he didn't walk around; he just stood in one place and applied the blood. And we know Rabbi Yossi Aglili is the Tanakama for Rabbi Eliezer. Mechlad the Tanakama lo yisfir alei. Then it's very clear that Rabbi Yossi Aglili cannot hold that there's hakafa biyad. Ela machvarta kedeshani meikara mar savar hakafa biyad umar savar hakafa beregel. That in fact, Rabbi Yossi Aglili holds that the hakafa is beregel, as we've learned, and that's why you could learn pnei michutz and mar savar hakafa biyad, and there's no pnei michutz. The boy same, if you want, I'll tell you bahaka miflagi. There's another machlokas to explain the shitas. Mar sover soviv de mizbech pnimi kesoviv de mizbech achitzon. The corners of the four corners of the Mizbech Hazav is treated exactly like the Mizbech Achitzon. However, Mar Sover Kul Mizbech Pnimi b'mokom chadek keren the Mizbech Chitzon koi. Remember, the Mizbech Hazav inside was 1 amma by 1 amma. Well, that's the dimension of each and every corner in the Mizbech Achitzon. So perhaps the Manda Omar, this Manda Omar holds that you don't treat the Mizbech Hazav like the Mizbech Achitzon because the whole Mizbech is like one corner. And we see this. Tanya, Amrav Yishmael. Listen to this. Shnei Kohanim Gedolim Nishtar b'Migdash Rishon. The base of Migdash was destroyed 586 BCE by Nebuchadnezzar. They were in Galus for 70 years. And then they came back after 70 years, they built the Bayis Sheni. And Rabbi Shmuel tells us that there were 2 Kohen Gadol that were around in the first Mikdash and in the second Mikdash. And then when they built the second Mikdash, they asked the 2 Kohanim Gedolim, what's the halacha? Zeh omer b'yodi hikafti. One Kohen Gadol said, you know what? When I applied the blood in the Mizbech Hazav, I didn't walk around it. I just applied it with my hand. The Zeh omer b'ragli hikafti. The other Kohen Gadol says, no, I walked around it. How do you like that? In one generation, there was already a dispute. Zenois and Talmud Vav, Zenois and Talmud Vav. Each gave support to what they said. Zenois and Talmud Vav, Saviv de Mizbech Pnimi kesaviv de Mizbech Achitzon. You know what? Being told to apply the blood misaviv lemizbeach is treated the same way as the Mizbech Achitzon. Madoch, the Mizbech Achitzon, they walked around. So the Mizbech Pnimi, they also walked around. However, the one who says I did not walk around, I just stood there and moved my hand, I didn't walk around because it's like when in the Mizbech HaChitzon, I just stand there in front of one corner and I apply. So this whole Mizbech is like one corner, and therefore I can stand in front of the whole Mizbech and apply to the 4 corners, just standing there. Eliezer, in fact, is the man Damar who said that he didn't walk around, he just stood there. Our mission is Rabbi Yehuda de Tanya. Meir Oimer, Rabbi Eliezer Oimer b'mkomo Oimer l'machate. Rabbi Meir states that the man Damar who says you stood there was Rabbi Eliezer. V'al kulon ayanoisim imava lamata. On all 4 corners, he gifted from above below. Chutz ma'oisa shabal lachson, except for the one that's farthest away from him in a diagonal. In that one, noisim imata lamala. That one he gave from below to above because it's easier, because it's harder for him to stretch and do that. That's the sheet of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda Oimer, Rabbi Eliezer Oimer b'mkomo Oimer l'machate. They agree that Rabbi Eliezer stood in one place. The Alkulan Unoisein Milmata Lamala, just the opposite. On all of the corners, he applied the blood from the bottom up, Chutz mizu sh'haisel front of Mamish, except for the corner that was right in front of him. Shenoisein Mimala Lamata, on that corner, he gave from above below, Nitfais and Maisa, Mane, so that his clothes wouldn't get dirty with blood. Then he's Amimenu al Taro Shal Mizbeach. The Mishnah said after they applied to the 4 corners, they sprinkled 7 times on the tiaro of the Mizbeach. My tiaro. Rabbi Rav Shila Palge the Mizbeach, halfway up the Mizbeach. Kedamrian Shitar tiaro, like the noontime. Another name for noontime was tiara. Vavi Pagalium, which is half the day. So the tiaro of the Mizbeach is considered half of the Mizbeach. Meisvei, I'll ask you a kasha. They didn't. Now there were coals on top of the Mizbech Hazav. So here it seems to say that when it was mazeh, he didn't do it on the coal, on the dust, on the ashes. The law gabia gecholim, and not on the coals. He moves them. He moves the coals to one side, and then he's mazeh. But what does that tell us, gentlemen? That he was maza on top of the mizbeach, not halfway up. On the high part of the mizbeach, the part that reveals itself, like it says, like seeing clearly the shamayim. Tanya Chananya Omer B'tzad Tzfoini Hunoisin. That he gave he did the hazos on the northern side, and Rabbi Yosef Omer B'tzad Droimi Hunoisin, he did it on the southern side. The Maika Miflugi Marsav. It depends. Remember, we had a machlokes when he went into the Kodesh Kadoshim, and he came out of the Kodesh Kadoshim. There was a Pesach in the curtain. One held the curtain opening was in the south, and one man held the curtain opening is in the north. So Marsar Pischa B'Doram Koi, and therefore he would, when he comes out, that's where he would be in relationship to the Mizbeach. So that's why he would do it B'Doram. Umarsar Pischa B'Tzofim Koi, and that's why he would do it B'Tzofim. So the Kula Alma Mia Echad Gamir Matonis de Kronos. Everyone therefore holds that wherever he finished gifting on the corners, Hosam Yoav Al Gago, then that's where he started sprinkling on the roof. My taima, Amerkrov Tiarovi Kidsho, Mokum Shekidsho, Sham Tiro, the place where you sanctified with blood previously, that's where you would sprinkle above. Then it says, Shiari Adam, Hayeshoifich Al Yisod Maravi Shom Mizbech HaChitzon. Any blood that remains now after they did this final 7 sprinklings on top of the Mizbech Hazav, the remaining blood was poured on the foundation, the western foundation of the Mizbech. The Omar Krov, there's Kol Adama Par Yishpach. The remaining blood of the par should be dumped. The Chinofik, and when he leaves the Heichal, the part of the Mizbech that he sees first is the western foundation, because the Heichal is to the west of the Mizbech. Bahu Paga Beresha. Then V'sham Mizbech HaChitzon HaShofech HaYisod Droimis. But when you did a chatas on an everyday chatas, and they after they sprinkled blood, they also poured out the blood, but there they poured it out on the southern foundation. When it says you pour on the foundation, zeyisod. So it must mean the southern yisod. Maybe it's the western one. Amrit. We should compare him going down the ramp, because when the Kohen on a regular day did a chatas, he went down the ramp. And we compare it to Yitziyosu Min HaHeichal when, for example, the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur leaves the Heichal. Ma Yitziyosu Min HaHeichal b'samuch lo. What's the din? We pour it on the foundation that's closest to him, which we said was the western foundation. The Ezez Yisod Maravi. So too, on a regular day when he goes down the ramp, he pours it on the closest foundation. Because remember, he comes down the ramp, he's on the southern end. So there, it also has to do with proximity. Tanya, we learn in the Baraisa Rabbi Shmuel Omer, both a regular chatas, when you have extra blood remaining in the cup and you have to pour it, as well as the Yom Kippur pouring by the Yisod, both are talking about the Western Yisod. Rav Shimon ben Yochai Omer, Zev Zeh Yisod Dromis. Both are using the southern foundation. Bish Rabbi Shmuel Ksover Yilmad Sosum and Mefurish. So I understand Rabbi Shmuel much better, because the halacha that we don't know about, which is the Chatas HaChitzon, we learn from the Mefurish, which we learn from the Heichal, which we said he pours it on the closest Yisod, since he comes out of the Heichal on the western side, you pour it on the western foundation. Rav Shimon ben Yochai my taima. Where did Rav Shimon ben Yochai learn that even the Kohen Gadol Yom Kippur pours it on the Yisod Droimi? Because he's learning that the Pesach where he leaves is the southern Pesach, and that's why he would, the same thing, he would pour it on the southern foundation. One person drew the other person to the same halach. Then, after it's poured on the yisod, the blood drips off the yisod, and gets washed away into the irrigation river that flows from the base of Mikdash into Nachal Kidron, and then we said they would sell the blood to the gardeners for fertilizer. They had to pay it so that there wouldn't be me'ila. So So the whole question, is there me'ila by blood? I understand that, for example, by an ola, you do the zrika sadam. Now the meat has to be burned. Now somebody benefits from that meat. So that's me'ila. Well, what about dam? Is there me'ila b'dam? So Reb Meir, Reb Shimon hold there is me'ila b'dam. The chachamim oimrim ein moyalim b'dam. Ad kam loy pligi elam rabbana. Now, the machlokas of these chachamim is whether there's me'ila mid rabbana. Did the chacham make a gzeira by domim? Aval midoraisa ein moyalim b'hem. But midin Torah, ikar din from Torah law, there is no me'ila. No animili. How do you know that? Amar kra lachem. The pasuk says, "Vanida tati lachem ala mizbeach lechaper." Lachem is mashma for you. You can use it. The hegdish doesn't have a kinyan in it. Therefore, if you use it, there's no me'ila. When it says that the dam is used lechaper, lechapara nesati v'lo lamila. The blood was given for kapara, not for me'ila. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Kra, who? It says ki adam hu anefesh, ki adam hu banefesh yichaper. It's the same din. Lifnei kapor, klacha kapor. How you treat the blood before kapora is the same as the way you treat it after kapora. It's like a hekesh. And malacha kapora ein bo me'ila. After you've done the mitzvah with the item, there's no me'ila. Aflifnei kapora ein bo me'ila. So there's no me'ila before you. Freak the Gemara, what do you mean? Why did you learn back from front? Maybe ein malacha kapora lifnei kapora. Maybe how you treat the dam afterwards, like when the blood flows for the gardeners to use, which is after kapara, maybe that's treated kilifnei kapara. Malifnei kapara yesh bo me'ila, aflafnei kapara yesh bo me'ila. So maybe there is me'ila. So the Gemara says no. Ein lecha davar shenasis mitzvaso umoyalim. We don't have an example where there's me'ila after you've used it for its mitzvah. So since the primary mitzvah with the blood is to do kapara, so once you've had kapara, there's no me'ila. So you can't learn, oh, there's got to be me'ila, because we know something that the mitzvah has been performed with it, there's no me'ila. Freak the Gemara, what do you mean? I'll give you multiple examples where we perform a mitzvah with it and there is me'ila. The love, arei trumas adeshen. Okay? Now I'm going to learn tonight's blood, which is samech, amid aleph. So, because we know there's me'ila by when the Kohen Gadol, the first avodah of the day, when he goes to the Mizbeach and takes a bucket and he removes some of the ashes, that's called Trumas Hadesh. You're not allowed to use that. Why not? Once you do its mitzvah, there should be no mila. So or it says Mishum Davi Trumas Hadeshen Ubig De Kahuna Shnei Ksuvim Abon Ke'echad. The Big De Kahuna, it says V'inicham Sham. You have to put it to Gniza. You can't use it. And then you have two dinim. So if you only had one din, there's something called a binyanav, where you'd apply it to all the halachas of the Torah. Mashma, even though you've performed the mitzvah with it, there's still me'ila. But no, if you have two dinim, that's called shnei ksuvim abon ke'echad, and then ein malandim. Shnei ksuvim abon ke'echad ein malandim. So because you have trumas hadesh and big de kahuna, it's only those things where there's me'ila after you use them. But by all other dinim, once you use the mitzvah, there's no me'ila. So there is a machlokas, chachamim, when it says v'nicham sham by the big day, by the Kohen Gadol Yom Kippur, whether or not it means you put it away, nobody can use it. So if you hold that it needs geniza, then so you can't use it, so there's me'ila, so then you have shnei ksuvim, you have the trumas hadesh, and you have big day kuna. But El Rav Doisa Domer Big Day Kuna Ru'uyin El Kohen Edyet, Rav Doisa doesn't hold that you need geniza, that that the begotten that the Kohen Gadol used could be used by regular Kohen Heged the rest of the year. Then you don't have Shnei Ksuvim Abam Ke'achad. Then you have a Binyan Av, and then therefore all things should be Me'ila even though you used it, right? Michael Amemar. Oh, says the Gemara Mishum Davi Trumas Adeshin the Egla Arufa Shnei Ksuvim Abam Ke'achad. You have another din that when you find a dead body between two cities, you don't know, so you measure the closest city. The Chacham have to come out and they have to do a procedure on an egla. They decapitate a calf from the back of the head, and there's a whole process there. So there also, you can't benefit from this calf that's been decapitated. So you have Trumas Adet, even though you've done your mitzvah with it. Sorry. So now you have Trumas Adet Shnegla Rufa, called Shnei Ksuvim Abon Ke'echad Ein Melamdim. We're back to no problem because we don't learn to other dinim because you have Shnei Ksuvim. So Hanich Lamandim Ein Melamdim, Elamandim Melamdim Michael Amemar. Even this issue of Shnei Ksuvim is a machlokas. Some hold you are melamed to other halachas. So the Gemara says you have Tremi Utek Sivi. There are two words by these dinim which are in their own right a miyut, because it says by the Trumas Adeshin V'samo, you shall place it next to the mizbeach, it and nothing else. So the other items don't have to be placed and hidden in the ground. And ha'arufa with a he'ayidiyah, it's only by this din does this halacha apply that you can't use it, but by other dinim you can use it. So the Gemara notes hanit plosi kroy b'dav lamali. But then we mentioned all these psukim by dav, like who and all these other miutim. What is that coming to exclude? So it does come to exclude. One pasuk by dam comes to exclude chad lemutin minoiser. We know there's a din. If you offer a korban, you have to consume the korban within 24 hours. If it goes beyond 24 hours, that item is noiser. If you eat it, you get kores. However, dam, you're not allowed to eat. The question is, if you have dam that is noiser, do you have two averas for eating dam and for noiser? The din is no. There is no din of noiser. V'chad lemute meila. The other pasuk is to exclude meila, that there's no meila by dam. V'chad lemute mituma, that you're not allowed to eat korbanos in a state of tuma. What if you eat blood in the state of tuma of kodshim? You would only get punished for dam, not for tuma. However, of only pigul, you don't need a pasuk. Meaning, if you have a korban and the kohen who's processing the korban has in mind to eat of this korban, let's say tomorrow, chutz lizmano. So that creates that this korban is pigul, and if you eat it kazais of pigul, you're going to get kores. Now, what if there's blood of the korban that's left, and you eat that after it's been made pigul? Besides the punishment you're going to get for eating dam, is there a punishment for pigul? No. And you don't need a pasuk to exclude it. Lo tzarich lemu'ute kra. Why not? It's not. Kol sheyesh lo matirin. A matir, for example, you have a mincha, flour and oil. You do kmitza and put the kmitza in a separate kli. Then you throw the kmitza on the fire. That is a matir to allow, that's a permitter to allow you to eat the remaining flour. So anything that has a matir, bein la'adam, bein la'mizbeach, chayv lo mishum pigul. Any item that remains that requires a permitter for you to eat it, so that item, if you eat it, you're chayv pigul for it. But dam atzmo matirhu. So, example, when I shech the korban, I receive its blood. What allows me to eat the meat? The zrika sadam. So dam itself is a matir. So a matir, the permitter, if you eat that, you're not chayv pigul. And that's a din we're going to learn in pigul when we learn it. Mishnah. Kol ma'aseh Yom Kippur ma'omer ala seder. We've just been through the whole process of this, the avoid of the Kohen Gadol. All the things we talked about, the vidui, the Ketores, the Kodesh Kadoshim, the sprinklings. All of these orders have to be ala seder. And im higdi ma'aseh l'chaver lo asa klum. If you did, for example, if you did, this is Dr. Eck, this is Dr. Eck. So if you, for example, sprinkled the goat blood before the par blood, so you got to sprinkle the par blood, and then you got to do again the goat blood, so that the sprinkling is in a seder. Let's say you're in the Kodesh Kodashim and you didn't finish doing all the sprinklings you're supposed to do, and the blood spilled. So Yavi Dam Acher, you've got to bring a new, either if you were working with the cow or you were working with the goat, you have to bring a new cow or goat and shecht again and start again. You have to bring new dam. You have to go back into the Kodesh Kodashim because you didn't finish there, and you got to finish. Same thing by Heichel. Let's say you'd finished the Kodesh Kodashim, and now you're out in the Heichel, and you're sprinkling on the parochas, and the blood spills. So you got to get new blood. You got to shech the par again or the sawyer again, but you don't have to go back in the Kodesh Kodashim. That which you did in the Kodesh Kodashim finished. You worked. It worked. But then you have to finish the Heichel, and each one is its own unit. The Kodesh Kodashim, the Heichel, the Mizbeach. Right? Shekulon kapar b'fnei atzma. Each one is a kapar in their own right. However, he says they say that each matana by each avoda is its own thing, and you don't have to go repeat what you did. Let's say you sprinkled, let's say 3 times. 3 times, you got to sprinkle another 4 times. You can pick up where you left behind. You don't have to start again from 7. That's what these mandramim are holding. Tan Rabbanon, Komaisa Yom Kippur Ma'amar Ala Seder. Everything we said has to be the Seder. You got to start again. We're talking about those avodot that the Kohen Gadol does with his white clothing, which is all the avodot we've learned so far. But we're going to see later on he puts on golden clothing for the Musaf, and remember for the Tamid of the day he wore his golden clothing. So he doesn't have to repeat it. What was done was done. That which we said about a Seder is what he does wearing his white clothing, whether he's inside the Heichal or whether he's outside. But those things done with the golden clothing, then he doesn't have to go back. And on Rav Yochanan, they both darshan from the same pasuk. What pasuk? It's only those things that you get kapor one time a year, which is Yom Kippur, which is the Kodesh Kodashim, and all the various other things. That's where it says chukah. But Heichal and Azar, where there are things that you do, other times, and not necessarily by the Kohen Gadol, then the chukah is not written for that. From the Chemya Sovar, Dvorma miskaprim be'em pamachas b'shana, and that's all the avodot that are done by Big Day Lovin and Yom Kippur. Afraid to Gemara, also Rav Yehuda Mokom Ksiv doesn't say anything about a Mokom. Elahainu time Rav Yehuda Ksiv Zos, Uksiv Achas. What's that? Chad lemu'ut Big Day Lovin mibachutz. One is to exclude those items that you wear the white clothing outside. So that does not have to be done b'seder. The Chad lemu'ut Big Day Zov. And any avodah that you do with the Big Day Zov is also excluded. But Rav Nechemia learns differently. Chad lemu'ut Big Day Zov. The Chad lemu'ut Shirayim. The Lo Ma'akvi. One of those Zos and Achas, that, for example, if you have leftover blood and you don't pour it on the yesod, that's not ma'akev the kapora. Now, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda says, I don't know whether it's ma'akev or not, but it has nothing to do with these psukim. Titanya, it says, v'chila mikaper es hakodesh. When he finishes doing kapor in the kodesh, he does the kapor outside. Im kiper kilo, implying that if he applied the blood, he's finished. The im lo kiper lo kilo, the Rabbi Akiva. If he didn't apply the blood, he didn't finish. On Rabbi Yehuda ben Neimalo nomar im kila kiper v'im lo kilo lo kiper. How come he didn't say if he finished he has kapora, and if he didn't finish he didn't have kapora? To teach me, im chiser achas min hamatonos. If one of the giftings was missing, lo asaf lo klum. And we really don't understand the difference between these two shitas. For me, it might be nine. There's really no practical halacha difference. They both are agreeing. It's where do they learn it from? One learns it from one pasuk, the other learns it from a different pasuk. The chad amar that shirai ma'akvi kibina. That no, there is a difference, like we said before. Whether pouring the blood out on the yesod ruins the kapor. One holds that if you didn't pour the yesod, you have to start again. And the other Mandomer says you don't have to start again. That's not an ikuv. I thought the Mishnah is like the person who says Shiraim is ma'akev. So kasha, we don't have no way of explaining it. Rav Chanina. We learned in the Seder that first you shech the part, then the guy collects the blood, and he's stirring the blood so it doesn't coagulate. While he's doing that, he goes to the Mizbeach Hachitzon and he takes the coals and the Ktoiris. Now, what if he did that before the Shechit of the par, loss of Loklum? He didn't do it, it's not correct. Keman, the like Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Kiksi V'chuka. When does it say that there's an equal? Because it says Chok, Bidvar Manas B'Vigdei Lov and Mibifnim U'Dichsiva. That's only items we said that the Kohen Gadol does in the inside, like the Kodesh Kodashim, in the Mizbech Hazav, on the Paroiches, but things that are done outside, it doesn't say Chukah. And where does he does the Chafina, the Ktoris? He does it outside. So why should it be Ma'akev? So the Gemara says, I feel a tema, Rabbi Yehuda, because Tzoyrech Pnim Kifnim Dami. Where does he burn the Ktoris? He burns the Ktoris on the inside. So it's a Tzoyrech Pnim. So something that needs the Pnim is like the Pnim. So let's ask from our Mishnah. If we said that, let's say he was in the Kodesh Kodashim, he was sprinkling the blood, and all of a sudden the blood spills. We say he's got to go outside, shech the new pan, bring new blood. And you have got to go back in the Kodesh Kodashim and start again from the beginning, not from where he left off. Now, the Imisa, if you're correct, that Tzorech Pnim is Kifnim Dami, it should say Yachzor v'Yachpon Boile. It should say the same thing by the Ktoris. He should start doing it again, but it didn't say that. So you see, the Chafin of the Ktoris is not Ma'akev. So the Gemara will answer B'Ktoris Lakomayri. That we'll learn Mirz Hashem Friday. So again, I'm going to New York tonight. So tomorrow, and they're starting Shabbos early, like at 7. So I can't teach at 4. So I can't teach in the morning. I'm going to be flying. I think I'm landing. Or I'd have to.
I'm the only one here, Ernie. So you're talking to me. That's the only one. So,
Does 3 o'clock work for you, Walter?
I don't know. No, 3 o'clock doesn't work tomorrow. It's the middle of the day kind of thing. So
3 p.m. What about 3:30? What about 3:30?
it's not gonna, I don't think it doesn't work for me. No.
So let's see, 8 o'clock in the morning. Maybe 8 o'clock in the morning. That works better, right?
8 o'clock. I don't know if I'll be on at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning either, because I have something that I have to take care of at 7:30.
Okay. I'll find out what the consensus is of the guys who want to.
Guys, yeah. And you fly safe and have a good time. You're going for 2 weeks?
We're going just for the 10 days, just for the
10
week.
days. Okay, enjoy. Mazel tov. Bye.